If I were not so wise a man, if I were not so wise a man, then I might be in love with you. And all the pages of my book would be just daisy petals in the wind. Afternoon, Tuesday, 4 o'clock, 5th of Jan, 2021. Are you used to saying that date yet? Sometimes takes it time, doesn't it, to feel like, oh yeah, that's the year we're living in now. How strange, what a strange thing. And not many opportunities, I dare say, for us actually to write it down currently. So I'm here to read some poetry live for whoever wants to listen. Drop in, drop out. Totally up to you, of course. I don't really know how many people are listening. It doesn't clearly show that, and if it does, it doesn't say clearly who you are, but welcome if you are listening, and I hope you enjoy listening. I was thinking how poetry, perhaps all art, has that certain structure, that certain scaffolding that holds things in place. It's a little bit like they're like walls that surround a sheltered space, or bones that hold a body up. And poetry, art should always have something that holds it to stop the words scattering in a high wind. And it might be rhythm or rhyme, or it may not be, but something intrinsic to it. I hope that will hold it. And perhaps that's why I fancy or feel like I should or could, or maybe it'll benefit me to read some of the words that I've written previously, since speaking off the cuff is sometimes that much more difficult, especially to make any sense. And what I'd like to do is read from the book Sabrina Bridge. There, hey. Named after a wee footbridge in Worcester. As it might recapture some of that sense of structure and things holding all the soft parts together. I read the whole of my other book, The Knotsman, on here, and I shall endeavour to read through the whole of this, though not today, not all of it today, over several days. And there's a couple of other things I want to throw in just as a surprise. That first poem I read right at the top is called If I Were Not, and I'm going to repeat that now that you've had a chance to join me and listen in. It goes like this. If I were not so wise a man, if I were not so wise a man, then I might be in love with you. And all the pages of my book would be just daisy petals on the wind. They love me not. They love me. The first few in the book are very much all about love of various experiences and times. This one about those first dashes of moments of enthusiasm and exuberance, overheard from the lover racing past. I'm dizzy inside, there's a glamour around my eye, and there is nothing about you unbeautiful. The sense of the thought of you flips my heart over, summons the Holocaust, sends my heretic racing to the chapel to pray, roaring to the gods for more time in the dance, skimming down the hill with 1 mile bounds to catch at your absences, places you were, hugging myself, loving myself because I love you, feeling clean in your smile and deeply in love with your touch. I punch the moment that takes you from me, jumpstart my life every time you arrive, and freely dive headfirst into concrete or else into bliss. Should you offer a heartbeat or brush off my kiss? Poor fella. Lover of love. A bit more measured perhaps this time. Called Sacred Calling. They walk like pilgrims on your skin, my fingers. Palms cupped for arms upon your hips, or pressed in prayer about your waist. Sweet incense lingers on your breath, upon these lips my faith professed. A sacred heart within your bosom glows. I place my hand, a scallop spread, divine of touch. Anoint the whiteness of your toes. Imbibe once more that miraculous wine. Then eyes that saintly look, or angels gaze with benediction, call as from my grave, made whole, renewed, guided through end of days. My soul in gold baptismal waters bathe. Your tongue on mine bestows the holy bread, the body of the church for which I bled. How are you doing? Hope you're well. Like I said, I can't tell how many are watching or who you are, so if you want to leave a comment, say hello. This one occurred to me whilst slicing a loaf of bread. He loved the baker's daughter. It not being sliced, he would take out his knife and, cupping the bloomer, pressing the blade, drawing it down one side like a zip, exposing the soft and the white, then laying flat the thick, lush slab. It savoured a surrender, butter spread like lavished gold, or kisses drooling on the puffy bed. Breaking the virgin crust, he'd bite the spongy flesh as if it were a thigh. In this way, he would live on her crumbs. Now, I want to depart from that a little bit and do something which I've not done before in these readings. I've always felt like, okay, here I am reading my words. I would so love, if I could, to bring somebody else here to read one of theirs. But I can't bring them here, so I thought I'd surprise them and you perhaps by reading one of theirs myself. And so every now and then I'm going to grab a book of a friend of mine, choose one of theirs to read, and hopefully they'll enjoy it too. And I want to read today was by my very dear friend called Winspear, who has always been a great support and kindness to my time in Worcester. It's from this book here, I Do Not Need a New Obsession, by Winspear. She doesn't know I'm going to do this. She might hate it, I hope not. And I've chosen one called The Snake-Necked Woman. What should I have said when they asked me who I was? I told them this, that I have seen the morning sunlight gleam on a panther's back and satin shiny hide as it stretched against a tree by the side of the railway line. I told them this, they have seen frogs falling from the sky to swarm over toys and rugs abandoned on a lawn in a heavy lunchtime shower on a hot July day. I told them this, that I have seen a mirror rise from a wall in a silent bedroom and twist unsupported in the air, reflecting the street lights spark on the ceiling as it turned. I told them this, that I love you, but no doubt in time I might also learn to love the man in black who stands in your place. I told them this, that I have heard a tale of sadness and lost dreams told to me by the gentle owner of a broken necklace whose photograph I was trying to steal. I told them this, that I know a fable of a mask and a snake-necked woman who dreamt that she was human, believing that the face she showed the world was real. I told them this, that these memories and fragments are what I am this day, and this day only. All the rest is just a box of empty facts, measurements meaning nothing, statistics soon to be forgotten, that do not define me. And by tomorrow the landscape of my mind will have changed again. Tomorrow I will give them different answers. One by Winspear. I Do Not Need a New Obsession. She has a number of books published. She and a bunch of other poets in Worcester were such a support to me as I came back to writing and started performing again. And many of the poems in the book Sabrina Bridge were written in that time in Worcester. So return to that, Sabrina Bridge. This is a poem called Map. I did not fall into love, no, but walked, step by careful step, down that precipitous path. And if at times I stumbled or sprinted, what of that? I walked. And at each step, I mapped my course, set markers on my road to show perhaps the journey back, but more to know my journey in. The dawn you brought, the music sent and doubtful glance, the laugh behind each word and shielded, fleet embrace. The stars caught in your eyes, my accent righted. And if at times I faltered, gave thought to retreat and run, soaked in fear or disbelief, Your weightless touch, your welcome, bore me further on. Past the catching briars, past the dry and endless emptiness, the desert beds of tearful streams, the hollow skies that would contain me should I ever try to leave. I did not fall. I walked, with map in hand. And now I am arrived. I wait, unsure if you should join me in this pitiless state. The map. It's strange to be looking at these poems again. The book itself was published, I think, in 2017. I can't quite remember, though they were all written a fair bit earlier than that, during my 10 years in Worcester and 1 year in Birmingham. And they seem kind of traditional, not particularly out there, or not particularly challenging maybe. Kind, perhaps, I don't know. This is a longer one, and it's one of a few narrative poems that are in the book. And it's got a slightly historical feel to it. I don't know, but Elizabethan period, Jacobean, something like that. It's called Street Thief. He watched her leave her wealthy father's house, walk arm in arm beside her aged nurse. In admiration gazed at this white mouse, her pace, her form, her visage, and her purse. And through the rutted streets he dared pursue the matron and her ward upon their way. The market square, the leafy avenue, the churchyard, where her fallen mother lay. And never at the sights did he espy a look or sideways glance from out her eye. He settled him beside a pauper's grave, and wondered at her kneeling, fraught with grace. The prayers that tripped her mother's soul to save, the thunder rolling across her grieving face. And thunder rolled across his breast to see, while lightning burnt the vision in his soul, that such a one should weep so bitterly for loss so young, that love should take such toll. No more a thief, her weighty purse to dip, unless to steal a smile from off her lip. With flowers clenched in earnest fists, he came to lay them in the urn before the stone. The wrinkled frown, it deepened on the dame. The maiden, sign or notice gave she none. He bent to take her hand, to offer aid in lifting from the earth. She took it not, but raised her head to his face as she prayed, then turned away, so seen, so soon forgot. The wizen dame alone did help her stand, alone him left to nurse his stinging hand. The gate he opened for them, chasing off the crowd of beggars set about the curb, then stopped the coach and caught the shying horse, forbidding hooves to bruise or she disturb. Across the running stream he laid his cloak, his only shelter, to protect her shoe and hem. the matron, let the fabric soak, and by another way the lady drew, who went as she was led without a word or glance unto the boy who followed hard. 'Twas at the market cross the cut-purse came, with dagger bare, cold hunger on his lip, slipped out the crowd and barged aside the dame to snatch the purse sharp from the young one's grip. In darkness stood alone, unseeing, he who robbed her of her guide, had cruelly ta'en from out her hand her mother's rosary and book of prayer, bequeathed when she was slain. The poor girl reeled in terror and dismay, with naked, outstretched hands to find her way, and found rough fingers, tipped with broken nails, calmly take hers, and in them softly press the silken bag again. The nurse's wails began to quiet. Her own fear grew less, as he whose heart was stole by she unseen, whose care and deepest soul was snatched in kind, saw now, with eyes devotional and keen, this lovely street thief girl had robbed him blind. He helped the aged dame from where she had tripped, clutching tight at the wound the thief had stripped. With blessed whispered words from breathlessness and pain, he bled his heart's possession in her ear, told the frantic woman his young sweet name, how much he loved the girl. Tell her, let her hear. And falling died. Released the crabbed and wrinkled hand, fell into the mud. The lady's shoes stained forever as she helped her guide to stand, calmed her from grief, from questioning refrained. Even after weeks, why, security regained, she from her matron's eyes felt water leak. The nurse for sure was deaf and had no words to speak. Street thief. I want to read one other person's poem. This is by way of having guest spots on here. Like I say, they don't know I'm doing this, they might hate it. But it's true also, if you're listening and if you fancy hearing something of yours read, then please send it through. If you absolutely don't want me ever to grab a book of yours, please also let me know. But I wanted to read this one, which is also from a very dear friend from Worcester, who goes now by her name Polly Stretton. Though when the book was published, she was using another name, Polly Robinson. And she and Suz have both been huge supports over many, many years. So this is what on hers. Polly Stretton. Silly Head Day. She's got her silly head on today, you know the sort, where she thinks she ought but she knows she won't, because she's do or don't and she doesn't know quite which way to go, as she's lost her flow and she's daft just for today. He's got his silly head on today, you know the kind, where he's out of his mind and totally behind, because he's forgotten this and forgotten that, can't find his shoes, can't find his hat, which he needs more than he did before, and he needs them now. They've got their silly heads on today, you know the type, when there's lots of hype and they're talking tripe because their heads are elsewhere. Should anyone here know any reason why these two can't be married by and by? The vicar will say, and look around sly. Silly together forever. Silly Head Day. by Stretton from her book Girls Got Rhythm. And the next time I read, whenever that will be, I'm going to grab a couple more books from friends and add them into the mix. I'm going to give you one, maybe two more from this one, Sabrina Bridge. What's Got My Name on It? It's very pleasing. Published by Black Pear Press, which Polly is involved with, so you know just you know how much she has supported me over the time. More on the theme of love. Such a joyful experience, often, I've been told. This is a poem called Dog, Roses. My love, she is so slender, oh, as slender as the rose's wand, and I would brave the keenest thorn to hold her in my hand. My love, she is so dainty, oh, as dainty as the rose's hip, and though it scald my cupping hand, I'd bring her to my lip. My love, she is beguiling, oh, beguiling as the rose's scent, and I would fill my lungs with her till breath is spent. My love, she keeps her secret, oh, as secret as the rose's bud, and I would blaze as bright as sun to coax her from her hood. My love has many faces, oh, just as the rose has petals 5, and I would cut a swathe to keep each one of them alive. My love is ever striving, oh, as striving as the roses climb, and I would stand 100 years to hold her flower high. My love, she may be biting, oh, as biting as the rose's worm, but I would bear the canker's teeth to rescue her from harm. My love, her ways are jagged, oh, as rose's leaf has jagged edge, and I would drive my fleet aground to be her wrecker's catch. My love, she has a hunger, oh, as hungry as the rose's root, and I would rot beneath the earth to be her food. If that's a healthy way to love, well, you tell me. I expect you've been there too. Okay, to finish, another narrative poem written for a friend who's such a fine musician and such a wonderful singer and such a fine lyricist. I wanted to write something in tribute of her, as a gift to her. Her name was Deborah Rose, and the poem is called The Rose Bird. Upon a garden tower of stone and wood, amidst a throng of autumn roses stood. There lay a man of solid blood, full of sorrow, full of care. New awakened in his bower from bitter dreams and visions dour, he heard a note of gentle power, bird-song of the waning hour, calling on the evening air, delicate as dying flowers falling through the evening air. Far softer than the velvet petal torn and spread in tattered blanket o'er the lawn, it caught him like a sharp and hungry thorn, full of sorrow, full of care. Climbing to the tower's height, melancholy vying with delight, it drew his gaze outward to the night to seek whichever songbird might disturb the evening air. Sifting through a thickening light, he found no wren or linnet there, but limp and sombre roses all around, rooted in the heavy guarded ground. They nodded at the sound, full of sorrow, full of care, and dripped their petals to the dew, revealing not if any knew the singer of that carol true. The string of trilling music drew no answer from the air. No keening bird of sorrow flew across the evening air. A month and more in tower's loft he'd spent alone, repenting all he'd lost. A love in ashes turned to dust, gone to sorrow, gone to care, and he lamenting on his woes. But now, into his window blows a song to mourn the wilting rose. Drawn by sweetened grief, he goes to plumb the tower stair, descending as the darkness grows deeper in the evening air, and hovered in the shadows at the door, he silent stays a timid moment more, to hear the haunting treble soar in spite of sorrow, spite of care, of how a love in heat of June might turn upon a flower's bloom. With raging thorns a guileless heart impugn, and as so many petals strewn be blown upon the summer air, and spill upon the ground too soon, as if it never were, as if such blossomed love had never been, nor any kind of beauty seen, but turned instead to scathing winter's dream. So full of sorrow, full of care, he lashes at the bushes near, the song of yearning in his ear. Then, with a step compelled by fear, he trips, a foolish dumb career among the brambles there, all rose and bud and foliage clear, the naked branches there. Within his flailing hand he caught a lonely branch of green, and fraught with thorns, it punctured skin, and brought a cry of sorrow keen, despair with heart and head a hammer pounding, welling from the stinging mount of venous blood in swelling fountain fell in copious amount, a dripping on the evening air, bled through 7 heartbeats count, raining in the evening air. Across the ground, the faded red of roses, failing buds and petals shed, as if from grievous woundings bled, so full of sorrow, full of care, a kind of malted plumage, blown and into nested piles grown. It caught the gleaming raindrops thrown like pips of pomegranates, sown across a field of evening air, took the lifeblood for its own, drinking in the evening air. And on his back, the stars above, his fingers clenched in bloody glove, the final flutter of his love, the last of sorrow, last of care, let go the branch it clung upon. Taken by the setting sun, witnessed by the silent moon, dropped like roses' petals on the quiet of the darkened air, floated in the sacred song that haunts the midnight air, the song that glides on scarlet wings, that from a rosebud bosom sings, the song that round the tower rings, not of sorrow, not of care, but love and life to glorify. As pinkly glows the dawning sky, as bright as fire, in his eye a bird of roses made, soaring high across the morning air, in velvet crimson, damask red, and crying through the morning air a song as secret as the furled bud, a song as hopeful as the opening bloom, a song as splendid as the rampant flower, a song as wise as the faded hue, a song as sorrowed as the wilting head, a song as jagged as a leafy edge, a song with silence out of sound, of petals fallen to the ground. The bird of fallen roses wheeled around and vanished. Within the silence wound another song. Together bound hope with sorrow, joy with care. The saddened shadows fell away as from the trod and spotted clay, arising with the morning ray, a rosebud new, winking at the day, tried the brightening air. In comfort in the briars lay, full of beauty, full of care. That's something called the rosebud. And that's me for today. I think I shall continue reading some of these in days to come. As I said at the beginning, poetry and art can give shape and form and structure when everything else is missing. And certainly I've been feeling some of that in recent days. So perhaps it may give a bit of structure, a bit of shape to the strange and formless time. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. I hope you're well. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you might listen out again. And if you want to, you can watch the video back on the timeline when it gets posted afterwards. Keep well, keep safe. Until we meet again.